Yes, my shit right here. Say what, that's my shit right here. Mm. Welcome back to another episode of Road to William. Today we're focusing on We Grown Now. It's a film that's on Netflix, and I really enjoyed this film. I didn't really know what to expect going into it. Even off the trailer that I seen, it was like intriguing enough for me wanting to like know more about this family. They had to overcome many triumphs, and I think their life was more like what the kids were referencing in this film was like jumping. So like starting off with the film, you meet Malik and his friends, but there's one in particular friend that you'll have to like learn more with would be his friend Eric. Eric and Malik and their other friend would go after school to go to their favorite spot to go jump off these like mattresses or whatever. And it was a big deal. And Malik was known around the block that he was really good at his jumping. And in the beginning of the movie, Malik wasn't trying to share his secret because his best friend Eric was like, "Well, what's the secret to jumping?" And he was like, "Well, if I told you, then it wouldn't be special. Like, then I wouldn't have nothing special left, to give to everyone. It's kind of like the Black community does it a lot. The gatekeeping of information, the gatekeeping of success, getting to the next. The title, We Grown Now, I feel like stuck out to me when they were all outside coming home from school. Malik's mother, who's played by Journey Smollett, gonna get the cast. Dolores. So his mother Dolores, his grandmother Anita, and his little sister uh, Diana, they all lived together. And it was that moment when Malik was coming home from school and Dolores was talking to the police because they were trying to figure out why was everyone outside. And the cops told them that it had been like a shooting, and then there were a shooting had basically went to a drug raid, and so the whole apartment complex was being raided. Or before that, so the whole thing was they were making sure everyone who lived there, had an ID. And Dolores was like, "Well, these are kids, so why would they need an ID?" And um, the cop was like, "I'm just doing my job." And another scene where they were getting raided and things in the environment making them grow up. A lot of times you hear like schools saying, "Oh, if the kid is acting up or not doing well in school, like what is the home life like?" In that movie, it showed them that, okay, you could have everything lined up good at the crib, but it's not necessarily just that environment. It's also outside of their homes. Their community is what could affect a kid, could affect a family and a behavior. And they had to keep growing up each hardship. Eric was being forced to grow up too in different ways. Um, he was growing up without his mother, and now his best friend Malik was leaving, and so he was starting to act out because of changes that were happening in his community and in his friendship and family. And so I think that was his way of growing. He had to continue to grow up. Malik's mom Dolores and her mother, Anita, they were, it was just them and their daughter and her son. They were being forced out of their community because of the way they were getting treated, but also she had an opportunity to grow her family. And she was torn in between Dolores was torn in between the two because she was like, well, I'm feel like she started projecting. She was like, well, what about the kids? They gotta have to start all over. And then she's like, this and that. She was picking up excuses, and her mom, Anita, was basically telling her, like, sometimes we use that as an excuse, but this is good for you, and she made a good point of like, your kids want to see, you know, their parents happy. That's what's gonna help them keep going. That's what gives them the confidence and this and that. And I'm glad she took that opportunity. Um, she was torn because her father and her mother had moved them there, and you see a glimpse of that, what their life was like. um, and she didn't want to leave that route. It felt like she was like cutting a route, but her mom was reassuring her that no, this is, we're extending, we're growing, we have to do this, like just like they had to move for a better life for her. Her mom was reminding her, like, you got to do the same for your kids. Because even though there's love here, no matter where we're going to go, it's going to be love. But the environment is no longer serving us. So we got to go, you know? And so I think that was dope that, you just need that community and stuff. In the end, Malik does tell Eric the secret of how to jump, which is, he said the secret to flying is don't be afraid. The secret to jumping is don't be afraid to fly. I think that was a good message because a lot of times what stops us from doing what we do want to do is fear. Some people say people fear success because it's something you never had before. So you don't really know how you'll grasp it, but you know what hardship is like. It's like, well, at least I know what this is. I can keep grasping this. It's going to be hard, but hey, it's something I know. But if you want to fly, you got to go, you have to trust. It's a trust within yourself, and in that you're gonna fly high, you're gonna jump. Long as you take that initiative, you will fly. And so I thought that was a dope um, message to have. Um, they highlighted the Cabrini-Green. If you go to, it's this article called "A History of Broken Homes." It's a dope article. Go check it out. I'll see if I can put it in the description for you to read. But Cabrini-Green is where they lived, and it's based in Chicago, Illinois. They shot it, so it was so raw. It just you were like, yeah, I feel like I've been there. And what was some other parts I liked? When the grandmother Anita, she brought her child back, Dolores, back from the raid. Like, even though this considered the projects, when people think of the projects, you get this stereotypical, oh, it's dirty, it's not clean. And maybe the outside might look like that, maybe. But even their neighborhood didn't look like that. It was still clean. Everyone's homes was spick and span. Everything was neat, put together, was in order. The curtains was made by the grandmother. It was around when Dolores's father was around. Like, it's got history in there. They just like, that's their home. It might not be a house, but that's their home. And when that raid happened, Dolores was trying to hold on for so much. But when that raid happened, she let loose. And I was getting nervous in that scene, but it was a very intense scene. And the cops was just throwing stuff, breaking stuff, didn't care what they were breaking, whatever. Dolores started going off on the cops, like, what are you guys doing? Like, do you have to slam that? Do you have to do it like that? Her mother brought her back. And because she's seen similar things like this before. Maybe not in a raid form, but they did live in the South. It was just another way to try and break down a family, a Black family, mentally. It wasn't just about, oh, we want to look for drugs, knowing people don't have drugs in there, but it's another assumption that, oh, if it's the projects, they doing drugs. They don't care about themselves. They don't have traditions. They don't have love, family. So they're just breaking it, and without any remorse. Even through that raid, I don't know how the mother hid that money. But the Malik went and was like, handed her that little cookie jar. People think it'd be cookies in it, and there's never cookies. Had money rolled up, saving for a moment where she knew her family would have to uproot and leave again. I also like the part played by comedian Lil Rel. He played Jason. He played Eric's father, and I like the scene where there was a few scenes. There was one scene where he told his daughter, I know you're not his mother, but you still have to check on him and take care of him and stuff like that. So it's like that balance between not asking your kid to parent the other kid, but a balance of like you're not his parent, but you're his sister, and siblings take care of each other too. And also the part where Jason was sitting down with Eric outside, and Eric and Malik had this fight in school, but it was Eric was already just getting upset. Everything was kind of like building up between them. And I think, yeah, he got mad that he was moving and stuff. He was mad that Malik was moving. But his father reminded him like time is precious, and he wished he had shown his mother even more love than he did. He took people for granted. He's like, don't ever take anyone for granted. If they're still living, they're still breathing, you still got time to reconcile. And I thought that was dope. And they did in the end, which is why I included it in the thumbnail. Throughout this whole movie, I just saw love and not to be afraid to take that leap. Like she had to jump as well. The mother had to jump. Everyone had their part to play in. He was jumping just out of freedom because he enjoyed it and it was a skill, and he liked the feeling of flying. And the mother was she had to jump from what she knew. That was scary. Oh, and the person who told her about the position to apply for it was Christine, played by Tyler Abercrombie. And she plays the mom in The Shy, one of the mothers in The Shy. So shout out to her. Shout out to the cast and the cast directors and the people who made this happen, the director. Cabrini-Green story is a real story. There's people still on a waiting list to move back because what happened was part of that article, A History of Broken Promises, was talking about Cabrini-Green and how that neighborhood demolished, and people who used to live there was told like, okay, we're going to revamp this neighborhood. We're going to rebuild this whole building. You all will be able to come back. But when they did rebuild it, it was way out of people's price range who used to live there. They couldn't no longer afford it. So people are living with other people. They're moving to other cities, states. Um, and then I read in the articles like people are passed on, on a waiting list. You know what I mean? They were gone now. And so, but there is a story where there is someone who was able to move in. But it's just like that's insane to be like I finally was able to move in years and years later, decade. Like that was in the 90s. Yeah, the mother's doubt almost stopped them from like staying where they were. Sometimes you don't have to make it as hard as it is. Like if there's an opportunity and it makes sense, it's best to jump. It's best to do it and try. But yeah, y'all, that was just a quick movie brief of We Grown Now. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. 5 out of 5 for sure. Definitely would recommend. Um, Now we're gonna look at some of the vids.
We've got passion, we've got determination. And if we set our sights on something, you better believe it's happening. We always felt like our content was all about entertainment, being fun, but there was
The murder of a child at Cabrini-Green over 3 decades ago helped inspire a Chicago director to make the movie We Grown Now, and it opens today, earning rave reviews.
Our Jose Sanders talks to the boys who give breakout performances as friends making magic in their lives despite the struggles in the notorious housing project.
In Cabrini-Green, it don't matter how old you are, how much money you got, how big or tall or small.
It's the early 90s in Chicago. Malik and Eric have already learned a lot about survival. Their imaginations and dreams can take them far from Cabrini. These fresh faces make this story soar. What was it like when you first got the call to be in this film?
Honestly, I had no idea it would go where it would go. I certainly didn't think that it would be as big as it is right now.
As all this.
Yes, sir.
You ever think about what it would be like outside of here? Wow, this is where we're from. Such a big world out there. So much I want to do. I'm from Chicago, so I was pretty proud of myself. Like, this is my first film. So, I was like, I'm filming a movie, where I live.
Set your mind to it, you can do it.
I'm putting my mind to some McDonald's right now, and I don't see it on my plate.
When you look back on this, do you think it was a fun experience for you?
Of course, it was super, so fun. But I feel it was also a very necessary story to be told, because me being from the South, if I hadn't have done this, I probably never would have heard of the tragic shooting.
Me and Eric, we've done everything together since we were born. You got dreams? Sometimes. Whoever had a dream that felt so real, you thought you was awake.
Would you like them as friends in real life?
I mean, I think I can relate to Malik a lot.
Yeah.
He's confident, persuasive. He when he sets his mind to something, he gets it done, and he stands up for what he believes in. There's similarities and differences between me and Eric. A really big thing in it was when he didn't really know how to count. That's not really who I am. Like I get my report card recently. I got straight A's. It was 1B, but that's still good.
We'll take that. Jose Sanders, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
It was a scene that also stuck out to me that I loved. During the raid, they were yelling to each other, you exist, I exist, we exist, and they kept shouting that at each other during the raid. And I just thought that was a very powerful scene.
Jurnee Smollett has been in front of the camera since she was 10 months old. As a child actress, we've watched her on Full House and the movie Eve's Bayou, and years later on Friday Night Lights
show ever.
Lovecraft Country, a role, by the way, which earned her an Emmy nomination.
And now she is an executive producer and star in the new coming-of-age movie We Grown Now, where she plays a dedicated mother striving to make a better life for her children. Take a look.
Now, imagine you hear a frying pan sizzling, and you can smell some thick cut bacon, the best kind from the butcher. And there's some potatoes and some fried chicken that was cooked in that bacon grease.
Okay, why do we feel like we want to cry?
Yeah.
The one scene shows this beautiful movie, and the reviews have been amazing. It won the Changemaker Award at the Toronto International Film Festival, which is a huge award.
Wow.
Yeah, talk to us about this film and what it means to you.
Oh, it's such a jewel, and for me, I'm so excited to finally be able to share it with you all, and have it out in the world. I think as a producer, I wanted to be a part of it because I really wanted to be able to see more films like this in the world.
What are you trying to show? Like, because this film is so unique. Like, there's something that just jumps out at you about it. But tell me what you're trying to depict.
I think one, the filmmaker, the entire team wanted to bring a level of humanity to Cabrini-Green. I think the dominant narrative in the culture, it says one thing about this, but it was a home for folks. And so many moms and dads, like my character, were just creating a home and a sanctuary for their little babies. And I'm a mom, so a mom of a 7-year-old Black little boy, and I'm trying to protect his joy and his light, but also trying to rear that energy and guide that energy and protect him from the dangers in the world. And I just could relate to Dolores's struggle and her ability to dream and find her dreams again through her son, who's played by this amazing little actor, Blake, who I just fell in love with because he's just so honest and raw. And I think the moms out there, the dads out there who I know who have seen the film, just you know, they're in tears, they're laughing. It's just such a good coming of age film. And I love films like, you know,
Yes.
Crooklyn,
Yeah.
Stand By Me.
Yes.
I want to see
Boyhood. It has that same coming of age.
Yeah.
You know, I can't help but think you were once, as we said in the injury, a child star, a child actor, child actor.
Yeah.
But you acted, and now you're with these little actors who you get to help guide in some way, like so many people guided you.
It was such a beautiful role reversal for me. Honestly, you know, I grew up around legends, and I learned by doing, from Samuel Jackson and Eve's Bayou, Denzel Washington, or Angela Bassett. These masters of the craft, and I found myself, you know, pouring into these little boys, Blake and Gian, and more so trying to just show them by my actions, not sitting them down and giving them lectures, but I think actions are more powerful than words.
What did Blake and Gian teach you?
You know, I felt like I reconnected with the wonder of cinema. You know, they got on set and they were just like, wait, the camera does what? And then the lighting, you know, and so I remember being that age, being 10 years old and going, we're making magic, you know? And I think that works with the film. The film has this magical realism element. And it really is about not being afraid to fly.
How do you find these kids? They're so incredible.
Oh, we have an incredible casting director, incredible filmmaker, Minhal Baik, who they saw over 100 kids. You know, and just kept looking until they found these gems.
You know what's amazing about you? When I heard you talk about wonder, you've done this job for a long time. But we sit with a lot of people who, you know, you can tell the enthusiasm's gone, but you're still lit up by this work.
Yeah, I think because I worked with such masters, I fell in love with the craft. I fell in love with the high that you get as an artist, losing yourself in these characters. I'm shooting a TV show in Vancouver right now, and every single day I wake up at like 4 a.m. just so energized and grateful that I get to do what I do.
Wow.
I can feel that.
Where can people see this? Because we need to see it immediately.
It's in theaters in New York, Chicago, and LA tomorrow.
Let's go.
And then wide next week.
We Grown Now movie brief. Let me know how you felt about this movie. If you haven't seen it, I didn't give a whole bunch of stuff away. It was just some highlights of the movie that really stuck out to me. Also, when they were talking about when they were migrating from the south to the north, and they saw that in there when they're talking about stars, if you've seen it or not, like they were seeing like visions of things. And then they went to this museum and they were learning about, in their own way, they were learning about their own history. Really good film, recommend 5 out of 5. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn your post notifications on. So when I drop, it's right on your screen.